In a world that often equates attraction with appearance and charisma, we forget that the most magnetic people are not always the loudest in the room, but those who carry a quiet gravity, a presence that cannot be explained, only felt. Perhaps it's because their lives are aligned not with performance, but with purpose. Their habits, hidden, almost invisible, that shape this kind of presence. They're not taught, rarely praised, yet profoundly powerful. These habits arise from pain endured in silence,
them rickety
from kindness
vans,
extended without
them
applause,
buses,
from
them
resilience
charter
born in the
buses.
dark.
When
Like
the
stars
train
unseen in
station
daylight,
here
their
in
brilliance is not
downtown been
diminished,
already fixed,
only waiting to
if
be
it was the
discovered.
same problem, why is it taking
Maybe,
longer to fix in
just
our
maybe,
neighborhoods?
you've carried them along.
Why is the train
Not
taking so
flaws to
long to
fix,
fix?
but
We got
threads in
places
a
to
divine
be.
tapestry, pulling you ever closer to who you were meant to be. Because the most irresistible beauty is not found in
You want to know what
perfection,
I gotta
but
say?
in the quiet rhythm of a life fully
Jersey
aligned
City
with its purpose.
is so diverse. So why
Let's
do
start
we
with a
treat
question.
black people
Not
the
one you
way
answer
we
out
do?
loud,
Oh,
but
we
one you
need
sit
a
with for a
medic.
moment.
Right here.
When did you first start believing you had to prove your worth to be accepted? For many of us, it wasn't a single moment, but a slow accumulation of experiences, subtle rejections, expectations, comparisons, moments when being ourselves didn't feel like enough. So we adapted. We learned to perform. We learned to be liked. We mastered the art of projecting strength, even when we felt uncertain. We became fluent in the language of approval. And over time, we confused performance with presence, confidence with control. But let me offer you something different, something quieter, a different kind of gravity that doesn't shout, but draws people in without effort. It's not the confidence that comes from being the best in the room. It's the confidence that comes from knowing you don't need to be. This kind of quiet confidence isn't loud. It doesn't enter with fanfare. It's not the biggest smile or the firmest handshake. It's the steady knowing, the internal posture of someone aligned with something deeper than applause. It's the look in the eyes of someone who's okay, even when things are uncertain, not because they've figured everything out, but because they've stopped needing to. You see, when your life is rooted in purpose, when you know why you do what you do, you become unshakable in a way that no trend, no failure, no rejection can undo. You're no longer trying to fit into someone else's story. You're writing your own. You're no longer waiting to be chosen. You've already chosen yourself, and that's irresistible. Because what we're really drawn to in others isn't perfection. It's authentic alignment. It's when someone's inner life and outer life match. It's when they show up, not to impress, but to serve, to connect, to build, to give. Hafakiv. These are the people we trust. These are the people we remember. They walk into a room and instead of taking up all the space, they create it. They don't speak to be heard. They speak to say something. And yes, it's tempting to think confidence is about never doubting yourself. But real confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the presence of direction. It's saying, oh, I may not know how this ends, but I know why I started. It's not pretending to have the answers, but standing with integrity in the question. It's leading with values when the outcome is unclear. Outcome is unclear. It's showing up consistently even when no one's watching. You become attractive, irresistibly so, not because you wear your purpose on a t-shirt, but because people can feel it in the way you live. They sense that you're not chasing validation, so they stop feeling the need to impress you. Style. Your confidence gives them permission to be human. Your calm becomes contagious. And in a world that often rewards noise, people will always find themselves coming back to the ones who radiate peace. That's the power of being rooted. That's the beauty of living from the inside out. But let me be clear, this isn't something you master once and never revisit. Living in alignment is a daily return, a daily recommitment to what matters most, a choice to keep asking, is this coming from fear or from purpose? Some days, we forget. That's human. What matters is the return, the turning back towards center. Because at the end of the day, people may not remember what you wore, how articulate you were, or how impressive your resume sounded. But they will remember how you made them feel. And when you operate from a place of deep alignment, of grounded, honest, unwavering inner clarity, people feel safe with you. They feel seen. They feel something that's hard to explain, and even harder to forget. You become without trying to be magnetic. So if you've been chasing the version of confidence that's rooted in approval or appearance or performance, maybe it's time to return to something quieter, something deeper, something that was never really lost, just waiting to be remembered. Because the most compelling presence isn't about drawing attention. It's about standing so firmly in who you are that you make others feel at home in who they are too.
Them rickety
There's something
vans,
beautiful about being in the
them
presence
buses,
of someone who is fully
them
there,
charter buses,
not distracted,
when the train station
not
here
distracted,
in
not
downtown
calculating
been
their next
already
move,
fixed. If it was the
not
same
glancing at their
problem,
phone
why
while
is it
you're
taking longer to
speaking.
fix in our neighborhoods?
Present.
Why
The
is the train taking so long to fix? We got places to be.
When someone chooses to be fully in the moment with you, not just physically, but emotionally or mentally,
You want to know what I gotta
it
say?
feels like the world slows down a little.
Jersey
You feel
City
seen,
is
seen,
so
heard,
diverse.
not heard.
So why do we
Not
treat
sized up.
black people the way we
And
do?
here's the secret.
Oh, we need
That kind of
a
presence doesn't
medic.
come from charisma
Right
or
here.
social skills. It comes from stillness, from the ability to be with what is without needing to change it, fix it, or escape it. It's not about controlling the moment. It's about receiving it. See, we're taught that to be attractive, we should be interesting. But the truth is, being interested is far more magnetic. Curious people light something up in others. Their attention is like sunlight. People bloom in it. But presence is more than just listening. It's deeper than eye contact and nodding at the right moments. True presence is a practice. It's the habit of returning, again and again, to the now. It's catching your mind when it starts rehearsing responses, or drifting into judgment, or reaching for the comfort of control, and gently bringing it back to the person in front of you, to this breath, to this sentence, to this exact, irreplaceable moment. And people feel that. They may not be able to describe it, but they know it when they're in it. They soften, they trust. They open up, not because you're brilliant, but because you're with them. Think about the people in your life you felt the safest with. Chances are, they weren't the loudest. They weren't performing. They weren't trying to impress you. They just gave you space, and they filled that space with attention, warmth, and patience. You didn't feel evaluated. You felt welcome, and that changes people. Now, in a world full of noise and urgency, it's easy to think we have to be constantly doing something to be valuable. But presence reminds us that being is enough. That showing up fully, open-hearted and curious, speaks louder than 1,000 clever words. And here's something interesting. Presence doesn't just impact how others feel around you. It changes you. The more present you become, the more aware you are of your own thoughts. The more you begin to notice patterns, habits, fears. You become an observer of yourself, not in an judgmental way, but in a gentle, loving way, and that awareness turns into clarity. That clarity turns into wisdom, and wisdom is irresistible because people aren't drawn to perfection. They're drawn to realness. They're drawn to those who show up fully alive, flaws and all, and invite others to do the same. You can't fake presence. You can fake charm, confidence, intelligence, but presence is honest. It's a mirror. And it's humbling, because it requires you to put down the need to perform and simply connect. And yes, this will feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've learned to rely on humor, or intellect, or status to navigate social situations. Presence strips all of that away. It leaves you exposed, but also incredibly powerful, because now you're not trying to win people over. You're simply meeting them where they are, and that is rare. That is sacred. It's also healing. Sometimes your quiet, grounded presence will say to someone, "You matter," more clearly than any words ever could. And sometimes being present with someone else is what teaches you that you matter too. So if you want to be irresistibly attractive, don't worry so much about what to say, or how to say it. Don't obsess over crafting the perfect moment. Instead, practice being in the moment, completely, genuinely, without rushing it, without needing it to be anything other than what it is. When you walk into a room, bring your whole self with you. Let people feel that you're not scanning for the next thing. Let them feel you are here and you're not going anywhere. Not until the moment has been honored. And when that happens, when you choose to stay fully in the now, something shifts. The conversation deepens, trust begins to grow, connection becomes real. And in that still, quiet place, you become unforgettable. Because the most powerful thing you can offer another human being is not your words. It's your full and present self. There's something profoundly disarming about a person who owns their truth without apology, not in a dramatic, oversharing kind of way, but in a grounded, honest, quietly courageous way. Someone who doesn't need to
them
explain
rickety
everything they
vans,
feel,
them
but also
buses,
doesn't pretend
them
not to
charter
feel it.
buses. When the train station
That kind of
here
emotional
in
honesty is rare,
downtown been already
and when you
fixed.
encounter it,
If
you
it was
feel
the
it
same
immediately.
problem, why is it
It's
taking
like
longer to fix
exhaling
in
after
our
holding your breath
neighborhoods?
for too long. We live in a culture that
Why
trains
is
us
the
to
train
wear
taking so
emotional
long to
armor.
fix? We
We're
got
taught early on
places to
to hide
be.
the messy parts, the uncertainty, the fear, the sadness, the fear.
You want
the
to know what
sadness.
I gotta
Put on a brave
say?
face, they say. But keep it together.
Jersey City
So we do.
is
We tuck
so
away the parts of
diverse.
ourselves that feel too heavy for the
So
wind.
why do we
smile
treat
when we're
black
hurting.
people the way
We stay
we
silent when our
do?
voice
Oh, we
trembles.
need
We
a
become
medic
polished,
right
composed,
here.
efficient, but also distant. But also distant. And then someone comes along who is unapologetically honest about where they are. And suddenly, the air shifts. You realize how refreshing it is to be around someone who doesn't pretend. Someone who can say, I'm still figuring it out, or that really hurt, or I'm not okay today, but I'm still here. That's not weakness. That's strength in its most human form. You see, emotional honesty isn't about being dramatic or turning every conversation into a therapy session. It's about alignment. It's about your inside world and your outside expression being in sync. It's about having the courage to live without contradiction. Because the truth is, people can feel when you're hiding. They might not know what's off, but they sense it. There's a kind of tension in the air when someone's pretending to be okay. We don't connect to masks. We connect to people. When you're emotionally honest, you don't just free yourself. You free yourself. You free everyone around you. You create space for others to tell the truth, too. Your vulnerability becomes permission. Your honesty becomes safety. It tells people, you don't have to perform here. You don't have to be perfect to be loved. And that is rare. That is magnetic. There's a quiet confidence in someone who says, this is who I am right now, and I trust you enough to show you. Not because they've got it all together, but because they've stopped needing to prove they do. And isn't that what we're all really drawn to? Not the ones who pretend to be fearless, but the ones who let us see the whole picture. Courage and doubt, strength and softness, clarity and confusion. There's something sacred about someone who can hold all of that and still choose to show up. What's ironic is that we often think hiding our emotions protects our relationships, but it's actually honesty that builds them. Not just the big life-altering moments, but the little daily ones. Saying, that comment hurt my feelings, or I felt overlooked in that meeting, or even just, I need a minute. Those small admissions are what build real trust. Not because they're comfortable, but because they're real. And yes, this takes practice. Especially if you've spent years learning to suppress, to edit, to filter everything through the lens of being acceptable. Emotional honesty feels risky. You might worry about being misunderstood. You might fear being seen as weak. But the truth is, it deepens it. And here's something I've learned. The people who truly care about you don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be honest. They don't need you to impress them. They need to feel you. Because in that shared humanity, that shared imperfection, something beautiful happens. The walls come down, the distance shrinks, and real connection, the kind that changes people, becomes possible. So maybe the next time you feel tempted to hide behind a smile or say you're fine when you're not, try something different. Try telling the truth. Try telling the truth. Just a little more than you usually do. Not for shock value, not for attention, but as an act of integrity. Because when who you are on the inside matches who you are on the outside, people don't just respect you, they trust you. And that trust is what makes you unforgettable. Not because you dazzled them, but because you met them as you were, not as you thought you should be. Because the most powerful connection isn't built through perfection. It's built through the quiet courage to be seen. We tend to romanticize big moments. The breakthroughs, the bold leaps, the viral wins, the highlight reels. And don't get me wrong, those moments matter. But if you really look closely at the people who move us most, the ones we trust, the ones we're drawn to, there's usually something quieter behind the scenes, something almost invisible. It's consistency. Not the kind that comes from rigid routine or blind discipline, but the kind that speaks of inner alignment, of knowing
them
who
rickety
you are,
vans,
living that out again
them
and
buses,
again, even
them
when no
charter
one's
buses,
clapping,
when the
especially
train
when no one's
station
clapping.
here in
Especially
downtown
when
been
no one's
already
clapping. There's
fixed.
a unique
If
kind
it
of
was the
beauty in
same
someone who
problem, why
shows
is it
up,
taking longer to fix in our
not just when it's
neighborhoods?
easy, but when it's ordinary.
Why is the
Someone
train
whose
taking so
presence
long to
isn't
fix?
based
We got
on mood or
places to be.
momentum, but on intention. And there's a steadiness to them, a rhythm. They don't burn bright and
You want to know
disappear.
what I gotta say?
They're the ones who keep showing up. rain or
Jersey
shine.
City
They text back.
is so
They remember. They
diverse.
follow through on their word. Not
So
because it's
why do we
convenient,
treat
because it's
black
who they
people
are.
the way
That kind
we
of
do?
consistency
Oh,
is
we
magnetic.
need a medic, right here.
Because we live in a world that's constantly shifting, constantly refreshing, constantly distracted, and when someone cuts through that noise with something as simple as dependability, you notice, think about it. How rare is it to find someone you can rely on? Fush. Someone whose words don't just sound good in the moment, but still hold weight a week later. Someone who says, I'll be there, and you don't have to wonder if they mean it. That level of follow through is a quiet superpower. It doesn't draw attention to itself, but it builds something no performance ever could: trust. And trust is everything. It's the foundation for connection, for attraction, for influence. And trust isn't built in grand gestures, it's built in small, repeated choices, over time. The people who are most irresistible aren't the ones chasing the next big moment. They're the ones mastering the art of showing up when it doesn't feel exciting. The ones who commit to the process, even when the outcome is unclear. The ones who return again and again to the work, to the relationship, to the vision, not for applause, but for alignment. It's easy to be inspiring for a moment. It's much harder to be dependable over time, but that's what lasts. That's what people remember. And here's the thing, consistency doesn't mean never failing. It doesn't mean being perfect. It means being honest, being present, being real, even when you fall short. It's the willingness to come back, to try again. To say, I said I'd show up, so I did. Not because it was flashy. I did. Not because it was flashy. Not because it was fun, but because it mattered. This kind of consistency, it's not driven by pressure. It's born out of purpose. And purpose doesn't need the spotlight to thrive. It grows in the shadows. It grows when no one's watching. It grows every time you choose to keep going when it would have been easier to quit. And over time, that consistency becomes character. It becomes reputation. It becomes presence. It becomes the reason people lean toward you without knowing exactly why. Because deep down, they trust you. They believe you're not going to vanish when things get hard. They believe you're not a moment, but a movement. And when you pair that consistency with emotional honesty, with presence, with purpose, that's where the magic happens. That's where you stop just looking attractive and start being trustworthy, magnetic, dependable, compelling. You start to represent something people can feel but can't quite name, a kind of quiet authority. Not because you shout the loudest, but because people know you'll be there. You're someone they can count on. And that's more powerful than anything flashy ever could be. So maybe the next time you're tempted to chase the next big thing, to make a dramatic pivot, to scrap everything because it doesn't feel exciting anymore, pause. Ask yourself, what would it look like to stay, to commit, to keep showing up, not out of fear, but out of faith? Faith in what's being built, faith in who you're becoming, because the truth is, transformation doesn't usually happen in a moment. It happens over time, in the repetition, in the return. And it's that return, the decision to show up again and again, that makes your presence unforgettable. Because in a world obsessed with what's next, the most powerful thing you can do is simply stay consistent